The Indiana Hoosiers get a monster win on the road at Michigan.
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Shout out to the everydayers out there who are tuning in, whether you're on the podcast, on the YouTube video, however you're finding us. Shout out to you. You're the reason that we do this. Indiana gets a monster win on the road over Michigan, 78-75 over the Wolverines in Ann Arbor. And man, this one came down to the wire. This is an instant reaction. This is minutes since the game just went off the television over on Peacock, which can I say I wasn't a fan of? Are we allowed to say that I wasn't the biggest fan of the Peacock broadcast? We're not going to get into that much today, but hey, if you're on YouTube, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. We're still growing, folks. We're getting closer and closer to 1,500 subscribers. I would love to do that by the turn of the new year. So help us grow, spread the word. We're having a lot of fun, and I hope that you are as well. If you're on any podcasting platform, we're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe there. Turn on notifications for Locked On Hoosiers. We post every single weekday. Indiana with a win over Michigan. Was it pretty? Absolutely not. But guess what, folks? A win is a win, and we'll take it any day of the week, especially on a Tuesday night like this one was, as the Hoosiers take down Michigan 78-75. They move to 2-0 in Big Ten play and 7-1 on the season here in 2023. Man, we got to break this one down and get into it. Just to look at the box score a little bit, look at some player stats for the Indiana Hoosiers. The big note here, Xavier Johnson did not play. He was in the boot. He didn't play, didn't dress out even. He was on the bench in street clothes, wearing the boot on the foot. So he did not play. And the fact that Indiana still got this win without him, I think says a lot about this team. I really, really do. And we're going to get into all of that here on the show today. Looking at your starters, point-wise, you were led by Malik Reneau. I said on the preview show on yesterday's show, he had to have a big game. He was the player to watch for me, and he led you in scoring. And this was a game that Malik Reneau did not play well in the first 30 minutes or so. He was getting bullied on the defensive end. He was slow on the defensive end. Shots weren't going in, and there was a while there he just disappeared. He disappeared in this basketball game, but then he came back. He came alive in the second half with some tough shots, hit some free throws down the stretch, crashed the offensive glass, crashed the glass in general, and gave you 15 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 3 of 4 from the charity stripe, 6 total rebounds. Did have 4 turnovers, which is what really caused a lot of his stress tonight, but it showed his leadership and it showed his maturity level to bounce back from that and be your leading scorer in this game tonight. Your second leading scorer was Kel'el Ware with 13 points, who shot 6 of 10 from the floor. He did have the 1-3 that he missed, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Again, we want to see him get there more. Only the 8 rebounds, but Indiana didn't rebound all that much. There weren't a ton of shots in this game, to be honest with you. But he had 13 total points with 8 total rebounds, all of those defensive. Had an assist, had a steal, had a block, had the huge play at the end of the game, right, to stop any chance Michigan had of trying to hit a 3 and tie it up to send it to overtime. Great heads-up play and an IQ play from head coach Mike Woodson and this coaching staff to put the 7-footer on the inbound spot. And he had 13 points. How about Mackenzie Mgbako, who had another double-digit game? A little bit quiet, but his shooting stroke was there. He's still a little timid on the defensive end, I feel like. He's still kind of lost on that end of the floor sometimes, but he gave you 11 points, 4 of 6 shooting, 1 of 2 from 3, hit 2 big free throws there, clutch at the end to secure the win for Indiana. How about putting the freshman on the free throw line? They ran the play for him. He got the ball, and he knocked both of them down. That is confidence from this coaching staff for Mackenzie and Mgbako. Had 4 rebounds and 2 turnovers as well. Then there's Trey Galloway. There's Trey Galloway, who had 9 points, 3 of 9 shooting, abysmal shooting performance again. That's not just threes, which he went 0 for 3 on. That's not just free throws where he was 50%, 3 of 6. He was missing layups and easy tip backs. And I know he made some shots down the stretch. I know he did. But man, it's time. It's time to start having a serious conversation about Trey Galloway. I'm serious. It's time to start considering putting other players in and giving more players more minutes. Because look at what your bench did tonight. And we're going to get to Gabe Cupps in a second, who only had 2 points offensively, but you can make an argument he was the player of the game here. Look at your bench. Caleb Banks was 6 points, 3 of 5 shooting. Sparks, 6 points for 2 of 3 shooting. Anthony Walker with 8 points, 4 of 4 shooting. He played unbelievable. And CJ Gunn with a couple of big shots. Both of his makes were from behind the 3-point line. 2 out of the 3 that Indiana made, they went 3 of 9 again from the 3-point line. That's kind of funny. And 2 for 2 at the free throw line was CJ Gunn. 4 steals as well. His energy on defense is unbelievable, and his on-ball defense is incredible. And to get to Gabe Cupps, we're just going to run through all the players here. We'll get to some storylines and stuff as we go. Gabe Cupps only had 2 points, had 2 rebounds, had 2 assists, had 2 steals, and only had the 1 turnover. But Gabe Cupps is the reason, one of the main reasons that Indiana won this basketball game, and I will die on this hill for this game. He is the reason and one of the main reasons that Indiana won. He held Dug McDaniel, Dougie Fresh, or whatever they wanted to call him on the broadcast. He was 3 of 14 from the field, 0 of 4 from downtown. He hit 7 of 10 from the free throw line. 7 of those, all of those free throws, 7 out of his 13 points. That's it. He hit 3 total shots all night long. Had some rebounds, had a couple assists. For a guy that just dropped 30 in the previous game against Oregon, that is a massive win for this Indiana defense and Gabe Cupps. Shout out to that young man. Shout out to him for playing in for Xavier Johnson tonight and holding his own. He got beat sometimes, sure. But shout out to him for holding his own and holding their best player to a horrible night shooting on the offensive end. He may not be an offensive threat, Gabe Cupps isn't, but that kid can play. That kid can play. He's got some heart. His IQ is through the roof. And Indiana earned this win against Michigan. They earned it against the Wolverines in a non-hostile environment. What the heck was that? What in the world was that, Michigan? I was expecting to be a pretty good crowd on a Tuesday night. I know it was late, but this is Michigan, Indiana. I thought it would have been a good crowd, but man, you would have thought Michigan was a 0-10 team and didn't even think they had a basketball program based off the crowd there. Doesn't matter. This is a road win. It was a tough win, a physical win, an emotional win, and a resume-building win for this Indiana basketball team. Their 4th straight win over the Michigan Wolverines. They go on the road and take down Michigan 78-75. We'll talk some more about storylines, likes and dislikes from this game, and what we can expect moving forward, including maybe some new rotations for head coach Mike Woodson. We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Hoosiers in just a second. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Jase Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from some of the crazy realities in real life, but can we talk just for a minute about preparing for real life? According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics like amoxicillin right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That is scary. I can't imagine a more helpless feeling than if my mom or my grandma or any of my elderly loved ones, or if you have kids, right, in that same situation, if they got sick while a supply chain issue kept them from the life-saving medication they needed. Thankfully, we'll be okay because of Jase Medical. The Jase case is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinuses, skin infections, amongst others. This stuff could happen to any of us. Visit jacemedical.com and complete your physician encounter. It will be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than today. Go to jacemedical.com and use the offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Also want to remind you, as we have been every episode, if you're looking for something else to listen to once you're done listening to Locked On Hoosiers, of course, you can go check out Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. It's the new 24/7 streaming channel courtesy of Locked On. They've launched it, and it is now a legitimate 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league, NBA, NHL, NFL, you name it, they have got it, and it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel at Locked On Sports Today. Well, once you subscribe there, please subscribe to our channel as well. We appreciate it. It helps us out a ton. Like the video. Comment down below how you're feeling after Indiana moves to 2-0 in the Big Ten. They take down the Michigan Wolverines 78-75 in a late-night game on the road in Ann Arbor. Let's talk some likes and dislikes in this game. We do it after every game, win or lose. And thankfully, we've only had to do one show about a loss. Isn't that impressive so far? Let's talk a little dislikes first in this basketball game. In the first half, the turnovers were horrible. I mean, they were terrible. I screenshotted. I'm about to pull them up right here. I took a screenshot of the first half stats, okay? They were horrible for Indiana. Here were the turnover numbers in the first half. These are just the numbers in general in the first half, okay? Shooting numbers weren't bad at all. You were 50% from the floor, 14 of 28. You hit 2 of 3 3-pointers in the first half, and you were 7 of 8 from the free throw line. But here was your problem. You had 10 turnovers. 10 turnovers, so many possessions that you wasted in the first half, and you were down by 2, and you're thinking, man, Indiana, take the turnovers away. They played a pretty good first half, and you were down by 2 on the road. You turned it around in the second half. You played a lot better in the second half. It was the defense that was really struggling, and it was the thing that kept Michigan in this ball game. And what gave them a lead for a lot of the second half was the fact that Indiana couldn't string together stops. I didn't like that. And it didn't seem like it was it didn't seem like it was the same issues, right? Michigan as a team shooting 3-pointers, right? They shot 17 total, but they only made 4. Indiana only got beat by 3 in the 3-point battle, by 3 points, 1 shot total, right? Indiana shot 51% from the floor. Michigan shot 47%. So both teams, believe it or not, shot pretty well. They shot pretty well, but Indiana just seemed like every time they had a chance to grab a rebound or get a stop on that end of the floor, Michigan always had something there. They always had a response. They always had an answer. Until the second half and until really the last 10 minutes or so, where up to that point, I was worried I was going to have to come on this show and talk about how Michigan wanted it more than Indiana, because there was a lot of time in this ballgame that they did. They were more physical. They were more excited. They were more emotional. They communicated more, and they were fired up in this game. But Indiana's skill, and I think their experience, really helped them in this game. So the things that I disliked for a lot of the game turned around and turned them into likes. With the poor play from Malik Reneau, he turned it on and became the X factor down the stretch for Indiana in this basketball game. Kel'el Ware, he was kind of up and down in this game, but man, when you needed him, he was there. When in doubt, go to Kel'el Ware, right? If you need somewhere to go, you go to Kel'el Ware, and he did what he had to do. The bench in this game, as we kind of flip into some of the likes from this win for Indiana, if you're not impressed with what the bench did tonight, then you're never going to be happy. I'm sorry. You're never going to be happy if you don't like what the bench did for you tonight. There were moments in that first half. It was the bench that kept you in this game. It was Sparks and Walker that kept you in the ball game in the first half when Malik Reneau and Kel'el Ware were nowhere to be found at times. When they got a couple fouls, turning the ball over, and just thrown off their game. Those guys off the bench kept you in the game. And here's where I go with all of this. We're going to get to some more of the rotation talk and kind of looking forward for Indiana. But I think it's time to have that conversation about Trey Galloway. I like the guy. I like the kid. I do. But for your senior guard, 8 games into the season, to still not have a shooting stroke, to still not be able to make open shots, and now he's missing open layups, the thing he had going for him early in this season, and the guys behind him playing better than him, playing more physical than him, playing with more heart than him, and just playing flat out better basketball than him. It is time to have that conversation, Mike Woodson. It is. It's time to have that conversation. I think you could put anybody off the bench tonight in place of Trey Galloway and give them more minutes, and it would help you out. You would be a better basketball team because of it. Now, I know there are rotation conversations, and do you want to put one of those guys in the starting rotation and pull them off the bench? I think that's a legitimate concern. But, man, the bench is building some confidence. Caleb Banks looked really good, maybe his best game of the year. Anthony Walker, when he shot it, went in. He was crashing the glass. He was running the floor, making his shots. And even CJ Gunn. Heck, he's your best three-point shooter right now. Isn't that something? Who had that on their bingo card, right? Who had that preseason? That CJ Gunn would be your best three-point shooter on the road against Michigan in middle of December, early December, if you will. Those guys are playing well. They deserve the minutes, man. They do. They deserve the minutes. I'm sorry. I just think they deserve the minutes. And until Trey Galloway can get it figured out, I think he hurts your team. He hurts your team. And he had a chance to be the guy tonight. He had a chance to be the guy in this game with Xavier Johnson sitting on the bench in a boot, and he let Gabe Cupps outplay him. It doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but Gabe Cupps outplayed him. The entire bench outplayed him. And again, I like Trey Galloway, but for him to be as experienced as he is, it's time to get it together, dude. It's time because Indiana needs him. That's why I'm so passionate. That's why I'm so fired up. It's because Indiana needs him to be good this season. And I'm not going to say they got lucky here because they didn't. They earned this win. They got this win, and they deserved it. But games like this against better teams, Trey Galloway has to be better. So I didn't like his play. I liked how he didn't give up, and he played some tough minutes and some crucial minutes down the stretch, sure. But overall, man, I really liked this team. I liked the coaching tonight. And I haven't been able to say that very often. I liked the coaching tonight from Mike Woodson. I think he had a great game of coaching. Now, Juwan Howard on the other side wasn't really coaching. He was an assistant on the bench because he had the heart surgery back in September. But I don't think it was a Mike Woodson outcoached an assistant coach who was filling in. I think Mike Woodson just had a great game. I think he coached a really good game with some new rotations, right? With a lot of the bench guys, with Anthony Walker and Banks running with Gabe Cupps and Kel'el Ware and Mackenzie Mgbako. I love that rotation. And I want to see some more of those. I think it's time to change some things up because you saw it work in this game. And when Indiana hits shots and when they get stops down the stretch, I thought they were going to blow it because they didn't get any transition points on those 2 back-to-back steals by CJ Gunn, but they figured it out. They made their free throws down the stretch. They made plays when they had to, and they earned this monster win on the road over Michigan, 78-75. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll talk about what's coming up for this team. What does this win mean for Indiana? What does this mean moving forward? What does it mean right now for this Indiana team? That's coming up here on the show in just a second. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. As the weather gets colder, the NFL offers Stay Hot on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, what are you waiting for? There's no better time to get in on the action. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options that include spreads on games. You have player props, individual players, over-unders, and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to kick off the NFL season. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Well, what does this mean for Indiana right now? And what does this win mean moving forward for Indiana in this basketball season? Well, I think it means a couple of things. I think this is a monster win, and I've said that multiple times because I believe it. And I think it's a monster win in more ways than one. Sure, you're now 7-1 on the season. Sure, you're now 2-0 in Big Ten play, which there's a lot of teams that can't say that. Those are all great things. Those are all wonderful things. Those are fantastic things when you really think about it. Because, man, look at college basketball. Have you taken a step back? Take a step back with me. Can you hear me? Take a step back and look at college basketball right now. It is a disaster. It's a disaster. Ranked teams are losing all over the place. Top 5 teams, top 10 teams, top 25 teams, man. It is a nightmare in college basketball. But yet, here's Indiana, who just keeps winning games, right? They just kind of keep doing their thing. And I think the Hoosiers got significantly better in this basketball game. It was looking bad for a while. It was looking bad, and I was afraid we were going to come on here and have to talk about a bad loss, maybe a sloppy win. But, man, the last 10 minutes of this game, I really, really enjoyed watching. And I was proud of this team. I was proud of Mike Woodson. I was proud of this coaching staff. Heck, I was proud of the fans on social media. Y'all weren't flipping out too crazy, right? And I was proud of this team, the way they finished a game on the road against a feisty Michigan team. Offensively, defensively, and everything in between. Michigan was a good team, and Indiana earned this win. So I was proud of that. So for right now, Indiana should celebrate this win. You should celebrate starting 2-0 in this tough Big Ten conference. Look at what Illinois did in the game before you against FAU. Michigan State falling through like crazy, right? Against Wisconsin, who looks pretty good. Purdue still looks good. This conference is all over the place. But you're 2-0. And your only loss remains to be against a number, 5 team in the country in UConn? Everything's going to be okay. And you're still not 100% healthy. Xavier Johnson's not playing. Malik Reneau looks pretty good. I don't know what that full status is, but I don't think anything has held him back in the last couple of games since he had those back issues. And so for right now, it's a big win, and it should be celebrated by you, the fans, by the players and the coaches. But we know what comes up. We know what's next. We know what is up next. It's Auburn in just a couple of days. You take on Auburn in Atlanta for the Holiday Hoops Giving. That will be a more hostile environment than what you played in this game in Michigan, which is still blows my mind. But there are going to be Auburn fans at that game. And I hope there are a lot of you Hoosier fans at that game. You should be. If you have any chance to go, do it. That's going to be a lot of fun. You're playing downtown Atlanta in a nice arena. There's multiple games that day. And you're playing a good Auburn team. But Indiana's got to be playing with some confidence, man. They're on a 4-game win streak. A 4-game win streak against 3 Power 5 teams. Power 6, I say, in college basketball because of the Big East. And Harvard, who, if they continue playing decent, they'll push for the NCAA tournament out of their conference, out of the Ivy League. This win could mean a lot down the road for Indiana. Because remember what we've been talking about? We've been talking about this 4-game stretch. And I said, could Indiana go 3-1? I predicted that they did. I predicted that they would. And here we are, we're 2-0. We're off to a great start. We're off to a fantastic start. How do you feel right now? How do you feel about these next two games? If you're Mike Woodson, I think you're happy about this win. I heard his post-game press conferences before I went live. He was very proud of this team, as he should be. I think the players should be proud of themselves for getting this win. But I hope they understand there's still more to work on. Outside shots, outside shooting, outside defense. That all has to be better. The Hoosiers played sloppy in this game for a lot of it. And there's so much more to pick apart that we will moving forward, but it's time to celebrate this win. And then it's time to turn the page. Because I truly believe Indiana can win one of these next two. Either Auburn or Kansas. I believe it. They're going to have to play well. They're going to have to play their best games of the year. But if they can build off of these wins, man, and start working together and building together as a bond, as a team on and off the floor, I love where this team can go. I love what the potential is here. And you have to be happy with what they've done, given everything they've gone through. 10 new players, injuries all season long, and not the easiest schedule. How many other Big Ten teams could play this schedule right now and would be 7-1? I don't think there's very many. It hasn't been the hardest in the country, but it sure as heck hasn't been the easiest. And the Hoosiers are getting better. They are getting better as a basketball team, and that's all you can ask for. That's all you can ask for. I think there are things that need to change. I mentioned the rotations. I think rotations need to change. I think there are guys that deserve more minutes right now, like Anthony Walker, Caleb Banks. Those guys deserve to be on the floor over somebody like Trey Galloway right now. They do. And I will die on that hill again. I think Gabe Cupps is crucial to this basketball team, especially with Xavier Johnson out. But with that being said, I think Xavier Johnson needs to play in one of these next two games for you to have a chance. You need him. You could tell he wasn't there tonight in some of the stalled out offense where guys were picking up the basketball 30 feet from the basket and just stopping with it, right? They were just stuck. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know what to do. Fumbling the basketball. The turnovers were horrible. I mean, those are things that can't happen if you're Indiana, and I don't think they happen as much if Xavier Johnson plays. So you need him. But this is a win you should be proud of. This is a win you should be happy with, because here's the thing. Indiana had 10 turnovers in that first half. You know how many they had in the second half? They had 3. They had 3 in the second half total. This team closed out a road conference win against a good Michigan team. That's a solid Michigan team that's going to be in the middle of everything come conference play, come the heart of conference play. Will that be a tournament team? I don't know. I think they have the skill to do it. I do. I think they have the talent to do it. But, man, they got to put some wins together. I'm just glad it didn't come in this game. I'm glad our Hoosiers got it done. And moving forward, just got to keep building. Got to keep getting better. This can be a confidence builder. Hey, if you go look at the standings right now in the Big Ten, you know who's at the top of those? You're Indiana Hoosiers. That's right. They're 2-0 in conference play. I don't want to say nothing, but we could end the season right now if we want to. That'd be fine with me. What about you? Would you be okay with that? If we ended the season right now, just give Indiana conference champions and just put them in, right? Let's just put anybody in and see how it goes in postseason play. All joking aside, I'm proud of this team. This was a fun game to watch. I enjoyed it, and I hope you did as well. Indiana moving forward, Auburn and Kansas. Man, lots to talk about over the next 2 days, and that's what we'll be doing. Previewing the Auburn game coming up this weekend in Atlanta for Holiday Hoopsgiving. That's what you can expect coming up over the next couple of days before the game on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you are as well. Thank you so much for making Locked On Hoosiers your first listen each and every day. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. To the everydayers out there who join me each and every day, whether you're on the audio version, wherever you get your podcast, or here on YouTube in the video version, I just appreciate you so much. So continue to be here, continue to support not just me, but continue to support this Indiana basketball team, because They're a lot of fun, and the potential's through the roof, I think. And so if you're on YouTube, like the video, please subscribe to the channel. We're growing, and I appreciate you doing that. Go to Locked On Sports today. Subscribe to them as well. Turn on notifications wherever you are, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you are. Turn on notifications so you know exactly when episodes go live. And as always, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.